Welcome to ILTV's Israel Daily. I'm Aaron Porras.
And I'm Natasha Kircha. Coming up in today's newscast, Iranians are changing history forever as students show public support for Israel and the U.S. on a Tehran campus.
Diabetes is one of the most common diseases on the planet, but now there just might be a pill solution on the way thanks to a Jerusalem pharmaceutical company.
And social media. If you don't know the Israeli stars coming up on the top of everyone's feed, we'll help you learn all about them. The big bang of the upcoming March elections. That is how Amir Peretz from the Labor Gesher Party is declaring his merger with the left-wing Meretz.
Yeah, but what influence will this have on the fairly deadlocked electorate just 7 weeks ahead of Israel's landmark third consecutive vote?
Well, apparently the answer is 6 to 10 seats. This is the amount of Knesset mandates that Amir Peretz and Nitzan Horowitz are expecting from their new union. And it may not seem like much, but the party leaders explain that alone, they fear failure to cross the electoral threshold of 3.25%.
Similarly, on the right side of the aisle, Education Minister and Jewish Home Party head Rafi Peretz is in talks with Defense Minister and New Right Party Chief Naftali Bennett, also with respect to running a unified bloc. But while the merger is expected to go ahead, Peretz seems to be endangering the party's future. Last year, he faced strong opposition for supporting gay conversion therapy, and now in a new interview, he calls same-sex marriage unnatural, unhealthy, and incompatible with Jewish values.
Well, supporters of gay rights and the LGBTQ umbrella group Aguda are saying that it's unfortunate Peretz's tenure as education minister will be marked by hatred and ignorance. Bennett's New Right Party, on the other hand, has not yet said anything. And finally, as for the Likud, Prime Minister Netanyahu's party is highly expected to nab a top spot in the coming Knesset. But a Knesset committee is now officially set to debate whether Netanyahu receives immunity from indictments or not.
And with the Knesset the way it is, the request is most likely doomed to fail. Now turn on the internet, let reporters roam free, and stop killing protesters. These are the words of United States President Donald Trump as he responds to the latest reports from Tehran that police are using live fire and tear gas against peaceful demonstrations. Massive, nationwide anti-government protests in Iran are now entering their third day, following the regime's admitting to the shooting down of a Ukrainian passenger jet, killing 176 civilians on board. And the Ayatollahs in Tehran appear worried. The demonstrations have quickly and publicly been picking up speed, and in spite of the arresting and killing of thousands of political dissidents. In fact, shooting victims have now been reported amongst the protests as police and plainclothes officers fire tear gas and live fire into the crowds. But again, this in turn has drawn the ire of the West now, with President Trump tweeting against the regime and Prime Minister Netanyahu issuing similar support for the protests.
אנחנו שולחים תנחומים למשפחות הנספים, ואני מציין גם את אומץ ליבם של המפגינים, של העם האיראני ששוב מפגין ברחובות נגד המשטר הזה. מגיע להם חופש, מגיע להם חירות, מגיע להם את היכולת לחיות בביטחון ובשלום, כל הדברים שהמשטר הזה מונע מהם.
Joining in with the economically inspired protests that started at the end of 2019, crowds across the state of Iran are calling for death to the dictator, or at least for Khamenei's resignation. Meanwhile, students at Tehran University are avoiding walking on the Israeli and U.S. flags while booing those who do. And now 21-year-old Olympic medalist Kimia Alizadeh, yet another top Iranian athlete, is defecting over the state's hypocrisy, lies, injustice, and, quote, oppression of Iranian women. Moving on now, there's tragedy in Oman. Sultan Qaboos bin Said, known for building better relations with the world, including with Israel, has died. And here with more is Dr. Nachum Shilo, expert on Gulf region affairs at the Moshe Dayan Center of Tel Aviv University. Thanks for being with us. Now, it's not every day that we see Netanyahu mourning an Arab leader. What was the relation between Sultan Qaboos and Netanyahu?
Netanyahu was announced what he announced about the Sultan because he probably had good relations with him, especially when Israel needed to convey messages to other parties in the Middle East.
Now, how influential was he in the Arab world?
Sultan Qaboos was famous for being the let's say, the secret partner with several countries and leaders in the Middle East. And he was famous of being a good negotiator and a good mediator between parties which do not speak one with each other.
All right, well, are we expecting any change in views now that his cousin is taking over? Because we know that his cousin, Culture Minister Hatem bin Tariq Al Said, is now taking over, and he's vowed to continue the tradition of relations with the West. Is he actually going to follow through with that?
Well, time will tell, of course. The new Sultan is only 2 days in power. We can't say, actually, whether he will act like his predecessor, but I think, if I can assume, that he will follow most of the guidelines marked by the late Sultan. But again, he's a new leader.
So we'll see. We'll see how he does.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, the Iron Dome is known for being Israel's saving grace, and now the technology is even more accurate than it was ever before. Here with the update is ILTV's Shanna Fold. So, Shanna, how could the Iron Dome be any more effective than it is right now?
So the Iron Dome is now, thanks to an upgrade, 100% effective. But before I get into the details, I just want to explain a little bit about the Iron Dome. It's not actually a dome. It is a radar unit system that uses radar to detect missiles that are coming our way into Israel and intercept them before they can cause any harm and hit people.
Sure.
Interesting.
Well, so what makes it 100% effective? Because before, I mean, it was 95, 97% effective.
So actually, before it was 85% effective, and the Iron Dome has been in use for about 10 years. The Obama administration played a strong hand in getting this funded, and in 2010, January 6th, they did their first tests, and by 2011, the Iron Dome was off the ground and preventing missiles from hitting down onto, civilians. And so now going into 2020, there's been this upgrade that we just learned about from the Defense Forces, and they have done testing in the south of Israel where they found 100% accuracy, meaning every missile that they tested was intercepted by the Iron Dome. So we're just 15% more covered.
So does the Iron Dome prevent all missiles? Because that is a common confusion for many people.
So while the Iron Dome makes a lot of Israelis, including myself, feel so much safer here, it doesn't protect us from every missile. We're talking about low-range missiles here, missiles that can't fit as much shrapnel inside, or
Smaller payload.
Smaller payload.
Sure.
That's what I was looking for. So we're talking about missiles that are coming from low range and probably a little bit closer. We're not talking about missiles coming from across the world. We're talking about at our borders.
Okay. All right. Well, Shannon, thank you so much for joining us with the update.
You're welcome.
All right. Now, Israel may be a small country, but it certainly does have a wide reach. Following a crippling earthquake and two powerful aftershocks in Puerto Rico, Israel is going in to try and save the day. All was calm for families who were fast asleep on the southern coast of Puerto Rico last week when they were woken up before dawn in a panic as walls came down and destruction took form.
Esa fue mi alarma. Esa fue mi alarma. Lo primero, mi reacción fue ir a correr y buscar, en este caso, mis hermanas, mis sobrinas, mi mamá, mi papá, que son lo más que me preocupa, y fue fuerte. Un día para no olvidarlo, un día de Reyes que nunca vamos a olvidar los puertorriqueños.
Durmiendo ahí cuando se te cayó a poco la casa.
¿Qué hizo?
Cogí mi bulto que tenía preparado y arranqué para afuera. Y brinqué por el balcón. Hacho, eso es terrible. No se lo deseo a nadie.
Homes, cars, and houses of worship have been destroyed by a 6.4 magnitude earthquake on Tuesday in Puerto Rico. As the island struggles to find electric power, locals are trying to stay safe.
Afuera, debido a que muchos apartamentos colapsaron, otros se agrietaron, se perdió todo en las respectivas casas, y es por ello que el área más segura es el estacionamiento, y por eso es que tenemos 3 campamentos ubicados dentro del estacionamiento de aquí de la comunidad.
This is the biggest earthquake in Puerto Rico in the last 70 years, and now the Israeli organization IsraAid has packed up and flown out to the island to help. The natural disaster has killed 3 people and is putting thousands out on the streets. But this isn't the first disaster to plague Puerto Rico in recent years. Back in 2017, the island and its 3 million residents were shaken by back-to-back hurricanes Maria and Irma, which killed 3,000. Puerto Rico has been in recovery ever since, including economically. The island's currently going through a bankruptcy process, and currently just about 60,000 residents are without electricity. Puerto Rico's governor has promised that the lights will come back on Monday, and the days following the original quake have been terrorizing, as 45 aftershocks of at least 3 points on the Richter scale have proven to be destructive. The Israel team has launched its initial assessment focusing on giving out relief, psychological first aid, and safe water and sanitation solutions. But this isn't the first time that Israel has been on the ground. The organization has had a presence in Puerto Rico since Hurricane Maria tore it apart 3 years ago, and is hoping their renewed assistance will help Puerto Ricans stay strong.
All right, now I just want to put a few things into context. We heard from Sylvester, who talked earlier about, just grabbing his bag and escaping the house, and that might sound weird to some people, but just to put that into context, there were over 20 earthquakes in just the last 24 hours, over 586 in the last week, and over 4,600 earthquakes in the last year in Puerto Rico. So it's really crazy what's going on.
Yeah, the island can't seem to catch a break, unfortunately.
No. But anyway, moving on, every day new and incredible inventions come to light with promises to change the world. But 80% of all new consumer products are estimated to fail within a year.
So how do you know which new items to put your money on? Well, joining us to find out is Dr. Astore Modena, a managing partner at Terra Venture Partners. So you have some cool technology that you're going to share with us today. What is up first?
So the first one we're going to talk is Intuition Robotics. Intuition has actually developed a companion for the elderly. One of the biggest challenges in today's world is that population is aging very fast, and basically, a lot of the old people don't have a companion for the last 10, 20 years of their life.
Right.
So it's very important to see how we can connect them, how to get them more active. And what you see in the picture is basically our new idea, which is a companion, a proactive companion for elderly people, which brings them basically a lot of new activities. So we want the elderly to be active, both physically and mentally. And the companion gives them, first of all, connects them with their family and also with their friends, and connects them to the outer world. We're used to, use technology on an everyday life,
right.
And the elderly usually are not.
So these robots basically come up with topics of conversation. They can play games, really, you name it.
Amazing.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're not going to find you don't need a husband or a wife anymore with something like this.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, what's up
Yeah.
next?
So the next one is Augmedics. So Augmedics is providing surgeons with a next generation way to really improve the way they do surgery. And how they do it is basically giving them kind of Superman powers. So it allows them to have almost X-ray vision through AR, through augmented reality, into a patient when they do a spinal surgery. And there are about 1 million surgeries in the world, spinal surgeries only in the US, and about 20% of them have complications. So by using this method, you can really allow the surgeon to be focused on the patient and have X-ray imaging so they can actually do the interaction with much, much lower risk, much lower redoing the operation. And of course, the patient can get out of the operation.
Is this on the market already, or it's in development?
Well, actually, we received FDA 2 weeks ago. So
unbelievable.
Mazel Tov is in place.
All right.
And we just started selling into the US, and we already have a very nice pipeline of customers.
Okay, so what is up next? This is the
Yeah,
final
our
one. We're
final
running low on time, so tell us quickly.
So the third one is actually one that I'm using myself. And it's a good thing, when you're investing in a thing, also use it yourself. It's a smart shower. And basically the idea is that we see a lot of technology going, in pretty much everything in the home, but it hasn't touched yet the bathroom. So these guys at SmartUp have developed a shower that it's a one-click shower. So you program the shower before. I want 38 degrees, 12 liters per minute. You press the button, and then you just enjoy the shower without
and
having
this
to
can protect babies.
Yeah, and I've seen here it's connected to Alexa.
Yeah.
You can hook it up to
Absolutely,
others.
and the great thing is for kids, for example. I have a little
You
kid.
need to control temperature.
The temperature can never go above 40 degrees, so I put him inside the shower. By the way, as soon as we put the shower into our home, the other showers don't exist anymore. Everybody comes to shower in my shower.
Smart Tap is very cool, and
I know.
and it makes sense.
I want that in my home.
Absolutely.
All right.
But
Thank you
Dr.
so
Modena,
much
thank
for
you so
joining
much.
us.
Thank you.
All right, now 1 in 3 people around the world are diabetic or are pre-diabetic, and the numbers are expected to rise. But now for the first time ever, an Israeli pharma company is testing out a medication that could stop it or even prevent the disease altogether. Now ILTV's Nittany Manson has the story.
Out of the 463 million people around the world who suffer from diabetes, 95% have type 2. And that's exactly the form of diabetes that Jerusalem-based company Concenter Biopharma is hoping to prevent. And not with an injection or extensive therapy, but with a pill. Diabetes is the result of abnormal insulin production, which is a hormone made by the pancreas to stabilize blood sugar. And research tells us that the medications available today to treat type 2 diabetes do not actually solve the insulin issue. Zygosid 50 is the name of the new drug that might change that. And developers predict that it will do so without any side effects. Here's how it works. Zygosid is meant to reduce insulin resistance and also serve as an anti-inflammatory. The drug has been tested on a human patient who used the medication topically on his foot, which suffered from ulcers and psoriasis due to the disease. The patient claimed he had no negative side effects from the ointment. Concenter Biopharma believes the medicine in question will work well to cure type 2 diabetes and even stop it from taking form in people who are at risk, potentially changing millions of lives.
All right, now while the video sharing app TikTok might be banned from use for Israeli border police, it's still one of the biggest social media apps being used worldwide. And ILTV's Emmanuel Kadosh is here to share some Israeli insights on why.
All right, so first tell us what TikTok is.
All right, so TikTok is what people like to call the new Instagram. It's the social media app of this generation where people can be making all different types of lip-syncing videos, short, very concise videos with some background music, pranks, whatever it is you like to do. So I want to talk to you guys a little bit about the TikTokers that Israelis are obsessed with. Anna Zak is the first one. She's an 18-year-old model, singer, dancer, TikToker, whatever it is you want to call her. She has over 5 million followers on the app, and then in turn also has over 1 million followers on Instagram. She started her career on TikTok, and then that kind of went into the modeling where she signed contracts.
She's an example of a person who has made a lot of money.
A lot of money. Over 2 million shekels, it's been reported a year. She's 18 years old. Don't feel bad about yourselves. It's fine. It's the TikTok generation, right?
All right, what's
next? Yes, next up is Jesse Underhill. He's not Israeli, but he is Jewish and very proud of it. He comes to Israel a lot because he has a lot of followers here. He also has 5 million followers on TikTok.
Interesting.
And yeah, people love him here. He collaborates with a lot of celebrities in Israel when he is here. Which brings me to the last couple, actually. It's Taylor Markov and Benzini, who collaborate a lot with Jesse Underhill. They're a couple that kind of just figured out the music game. They make a lot of music videos, a lot of songs, and then in turn, their videos and their dance moves get trending on the app.
Right, because there are a lot of people who actually will create dances on here.
Right.
And
well,
then
they create dances on their music videos that in turn go into dances on TikTok, and then it just goes viral from there.
Seems like a crazy mad cycle that just never ends.
Yeah, well, and TikTok is maybe the new way to make some extra money on the side, right?
A lot of money, yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us, Emmanuel. All right, now when we were young, most of our relationships were formed during play dates, after-school activities, and sleepovers. But nowadays, a lot of youth make their connections on social media. And if you're popular, it often comes in the form of likes.
Well, joining us now is Israeli psychologist Dr. Camila Forkash-Lavan to discuss the impact of social media on mental health amongst our youth. Thank you for being with us. Now, bullying has always existed. It's age-old. But how has it changed in the age of social media and technology?
Okay, it's always been a problem, yes, and it's always is a problem. Doesn't matter where it happens to be, yes. But before, it was limited to the environment that you lived in. Your school, maybe it sometimes would escape into the neighborhood where you lived. Now there is really no way to run away from it. So like if a child will move from school to school, they will find the child there because of WhatsApp, because of social media, because of Facebook. Any resources that could be used will be used, and the child just literally will have almost no escape.
How possible is it for kids to avoid social media and these pitfalls, or does it follow them with or without their own profile?
It's a very good question, and we go back to the connection with the parents. So if there is a good connection with the parent and children are able to discuss different things, maybe some of them would be even hard or something that the parent will not want to hear, but is open to hearing and discussing and things like that, so the child is going to be more likely to come with problems and to feel supported, yes? So teaching also a child, sometimes it's you need to bring in also a professional, but teaching a child the limits of technology and building a self-esteem that's a healthy one, and being able to say no and being able to stand up for themselves. So there are ways that you can help.
Right.
At least either avoid to a certain degree, but if not that, to at least get out of it. You just need to, if you see that it's not happening one-on-one by yourself, do go to a professional because it's a really serious problem.
Now, it's interesting because I feel like most people say that the younger generation is more superficial. I mean, that's kind of just something that has happened over time. But there are a lot of young people who might find themselves lonely in real life.
Mm-hmm. Or with less social skills.
Yeah, and with less social skills, and find that they bloom online. I mean, where is there a fine line between that being okay? Is it okay to just exist as a person on social media alone without having to kind of build those social interactions, or can there be a balance?
So one of the reasons that I feel is there is this difficulty of social interaction because you don't really have the social interaction a lot of times, right? So if there's, to begin with, like a little bit of anxiety or a person feels a little bit shy or uncomfortable, yes, now he has a way to escape somewhere and to create a virtual reality in a way, yes?
Right.
Virtual friends that they're sometimes really aren't friends, but it feels like they are because I am associated with somebody somewhere across the globe.
Right, so I guess it comes down to just making sure that your children are aware that this is virtual reality, this is real life, and live in both.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, now they say that you'd have to walk a mile in someone's shoes in order to understand a person. Isn't that right, Aaron?
It is, except, can I walk in men's shoes? It's a lot more comfortable.
Well, yeah, women's heels may seem difficult, but guess what? Women wearing heels have made massive strides throughout history. And now a new exhibit at the Rishon LeZion Museum is marking 100 years of women's suffrage in Israel with an exhibit showing off their shoes, and the designs are incredible. Take a look at these unusual shoes. Many of these are from Jerusalem's Bezalel Academy of Art and Design. You have banana shoes, you have shoes with synthetic hair that's meant to mimic Madonna's iconic cone bra and blonde ponytail. And you even have a white kettle pouring out coffee, which is a nod to women who filled secretarial roles before, of course, breaking into other parts of the workforce.
And one of the most impressive pairs actually were worn by Israel's first and only female prime minister, Golda Meir. She was actually known to wear practical, functional walking shoes, which ended up being called the Golda shoes.
A fun fact, actually, is that women in the army wore that style shoe until 1987. And this exhibit in Rishon LeZion is interesting because Rishon LeZion was actually one of the first Hebrew settlements in Israel that made women politically equal to men in 1919, giving them the right to vote.
Yep, and the host of the exhibit is artist Kobe Levy, whose shoe designs are so popular that celebrities like Lady Gaga and Whoopi Goldberg have worn his creations. Even Israeli pop star Nata Barzilai donned a pair of his designs when she won the Eurovision finale here in Israel in 2018.
Now, this exhibit is really a great learning experience. It actually also features large photographs of the original feminists who pioneered Rishon LeZion, including Hannah Levin, who was the first woman to become a city mayor in Israel. Well, on that note, let us take a look at the weather forecast. We finally have a break from the stormy weather today, and we're looking at partly cloudy skies with a high of 52 degrees Fahrenheit or 11 Celsius. Tomorrow should be a bit warmer with a high of 54 Fahrenheit or 12 degrees Celsius and a 10% chance of rain.
And now, before we go, let's take a look at what's going viral in Israel on Tubing.
שטובי הזבל, אני שונא אותך. יא זבל.
What?
Whoa. So
Oh my
apparently this man's
gosh.
balcony has just disappeared. It fell off below during the recent storms.
What do you think his reaction was when he first? Imagine not knowing that took place, and then
I bet he took a step out almost, and oof,
wow, I don't even want to think about that. That is very scary.
At any
All
rate,
right.
that is it for today's news. Today's exchange rate is 3.47 shekels to the American dollar. And for more news from ILTV, please like ILTV on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. I'm Aaron Porras.
And I'm Natasha Kirchuk. Thanks so much for watching.